Today I'm going to be reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 15. Let's see, what is that called? The Forbidden Forest. Bum, bum, bum. Things couldn't have been worse. George took them down to Professor McGonagall's study on the first floor. They sat and waited without saying a word to each other. Hermione was trembling. Excuses, alibis, and wild cover-up stories chased each other around Harry's brain, each more feeble than the last. He couldn't see how they were going to get out of trouble this time. They were cornered. How could they have been so stupid? How could they be so stupid and forget the cloak? There was no reason on earth that Professor McGonagall would accept for their being out of bed and creeping around the school in dead of night, let alone being at the tallest astronomy tower, which was out of bounds except for classes. And Norbert and the Invisible, they might as well be packing their bags already. Had Harry thought the things couldn't have been worse, he was wrong. When Professor McGonagall feared she was leading Neville. Harry! Neville burst out. At the moment, he saw the other two. I was trying to warn you. I heard Malfoy saying he was going to catch you. He said you had a job. Harry shook his head violently to shut up Neville. Professor McGonagall had seen. She looked more likely to breathe fire as Norbert than Norbert as she towered over the three of them. I would never believe out of any. Mr. Filch says you were up in the astronomy tower at 1 o'clock in the morning. Explain yourself. It's the first time mine had ever failed an answer teacher's question. She was starring her lips as still as a statue. I think I've got a good idea of what's been going on, said Professor McGonagall. It doesn't take a genius to work it out. We fed Draco Malfoy some cock and bull story about a dragon trying to get him out of bed and into trouble. I've already caught him. I suppose you think it's funny that Longbottom heard the story and believed it too. Harry caught Neville's eye and tried to tell him that wasn't true, because Neville was looking stunned and hurt. Poor blunting Neville. Harry knew that it must have cost him to try and find them in the dark to warn them. I'm disgusted, said Professor McGonagall. 4 students out of bed in one night? I've never heard such a thing before. You, Miss Granger, I thought you had more sense. As for you, Mr. Potter, I thought Gryffindor meant more than you. All 3 of you will receive detentions. Yes, you too, Mr. Longbottom. Nothing gives you the right to walk around the school at night. especially these days. It's very dangerous. 50 points will be taken from Gryffindor. 50? Harry gasped. They would lose the lead. The lead they won in the last Quidditch match. 50 points each, said Professor McGonagall, breathing heavily through a long pointed nose. Professor, please, you can't. Don't you tell me what I can't and can't do, Potter. Now get back to bed, all of you. I've never been more ashamed of Gryffindor students. 150 points lost. That put Gryffindor in last place. In one night, they ruined any chance that Gryffindor had for the house cut. Harry felt though the bottom had dropped out of his stomach. How could they ever make up for this? Harry didn't sleep all night. He couldn't think of anything to say to comfort him. He knew Neville, like himself, was dreading the dawn. What would happen when the rest of the Gryffindors found out what they'd done? First, Gryffindors passed in the giant elders that record the house points. Next, they thought there had been a mistake. How can they suddenly have 150 points fewer than yesterday? And then the story started to spread. Harry Potter, the famous Harry Potter, the hero of 2 Quidditch matches, and lost them those points. The couple of stupid first years. From being one of the most popular and admired people at the school, Harry was suddenly the most hated. Even the Ravenclaws and Hufflepuffs turned on him because everyone had been longing to see Slytherin lose the House Cup. Everywhere Harry went, people pointed and didn't trouble to lower their voices as they insulted him. Slytherins, on the other hand, clapped as they walked past him, whistling and cheering. Thanks, Potter! We owe you one! Only Ron stood by him. They'll all forget this in a few weeks. Fred and George have lost loads of points, and all the time they've been here, people still like them. Have they ever lost 150 points in one go? Though, have they? Said Harry miserably. Well, no, Ron admitted. It was a bit late to repair the damage, but Harry swore to himself not to meddle with things that weren't his business from now on. He had it with sneaking around and spying. He felt so ashamed himself that he went to Wood and offered to resign from the Quidditch team. Resign, Wood thundered. What will that do? How are we going to get any points back if we can't win at Quidditch? But even Quidditch had lost its fun. The rest of the team wouldn't speak to Harry during the practice. They had to speak to him. They called him the Seeker. Hermione and Neville was suffering too. They didn't have as bad as a time as Harry, because they weren't as well known. But nobody would speak to them either. Hermione had stopped drawing attention to herself in class, keeping her head down and working in silence. Harry was almost glad that the exams weren't far away. All the studying that he had to do kept his mind off his misery. Ron and Hermione kept to themselves, working late in the night, trying to remember the ingredients in complicated potions, learn charms and spells by heart, memorize dates of magical discoveries in Goblin Rovers. Then, about a week before the exams were due to start, Harry's new resolution not to interfere with anything in concern was put to an unexpected test. Walking back from the library on his own one afternoon, he heard heard somebody whispering from a classroom up ahead. As he drew closer, he heard Quoll's voice. No, no, not again, please. It sounded as though someone was threatening him. Harry moved closer. All right, he heard Quoll sob. The next second, Quoll came hurrying out of the classroom, straining his turban. He was pale and looked as though he was about to cry. He strode out of sight. Harry didn't think Quoll had even noticed him. He waited until Quoll's footsteps disappeared, then peered into the classroom. It was empty, but a door stood ajar at the other end. Harry was halfway toward it before he remembered his promise about not meddling. At the same time, he gambled 12 Sorcerer's Stones that Snape had just left the room. And from what Harry had just heard, Snape would be walking with a new spring in his step. Quoll seemed to give in at last. Snape's done it, said Ron. Quoll told him how to break an ante for a spell. They're still fluffy though, said Hermione. Maybe Snape found out how to get past them without asking Hagrid, said Ron, looking up at the thousand of books surrounding him. I bet there's a book somewhere telling how to get through the giant three-headed dog. So what do we do, Harry? The light of adventure was kindling again in Ron's eyes, but Hermione answered before Harry could. Go to Dumbledore. That's what we should have done ages ago. If we try anything ourselves, we'll be thrown out for sure. But we've got no proof, said Harry. Quoll's too scared to back us up. Snape's only going to say he doesn't know how the troll got in Halloween and that he was nowhere near the third floor. What do you think they'll believe, him or us? Not exactly a secret. We hate him, Dumbledore. Dumbledore, I think we made it up to get him sacked. Filch wouldn't help us if his life depended on him. He's too friendly with Snape. And the more students get thrown out, the better, he'll think. And don't forget, we're not supposed to know about Stone or Fluffy. That would take a lot of experience. Hermione looked at things, but wanted it. If we just do a bit of poking around, no. Said Ron very flatly. We've done enough poking around. He pulled the map of Jupiter toward him. Started on the following notes. The following morning, notes were delivered to Harry, Hermione, and Neville at the breakfast table. They were all the same. The detention will take place at 11 o'clock tonight. Meet Mr. Filch in the entrance hall. Professor McGonagall. Professor M. McGonagall. Harry forgotten they still had detentions to do and for over the points they'd lost. He half expected Hermione to complain that this was a whole night of studying loss, but she didn't say a word. Like Harry, she felt they deserved what they had got. At 11 o'clock that night, they said goodbye to Ron in the common room and went down to the entrance hall with Neville. Filch was already there, and so was Malfoy. Harry also forgot that Malfoy had gotten detention too. Follow me, said Filch, leading them outside. I bet you'll think twice about breaking a school rule again. Won't you, He said, leering at them. Oh, yes. Hard work and pain are the best teachers, if you ask me. Just a pity thing that the old punishments die out. Hang you by your wrist from the ceiling for a few days. I've got the chains still in my office. Keep them well oiled in case they're ever needed. Right, off we go. And don't think of running off. Now it will be worse for you if you do. They marched off across the dark grounds. Neville kept sniffing. Harry wondered what the punishment was going to be. It must be something really terrible. Filch wouldn't be sounding too delighted. The moon bright, but the clouds jutting across it kept throwing them into darkness. Ahead, Harry could see the lighted windows of Hagrid's house. Then they heard a distant shout. "Is that you, Hagrid? Filch? Hurry up! I want to get started." Harry's heart rose. If they were going to be working with Hagrid, it wouldn't be so bad. His relief must have shown on his face, because Filch said, "I suppose you think you'll be enjoying yourself with that oath. Well, think again. It's into the forest you're going, and I'm much mistaken if you come out in one piece." This Neville let a little moan, and Malfoy stopped dead in his tracks. "The forest," he repeated, and he didn't sound quite as cool as usual. "You can't go in there at night. There's all sorts of things in there. Werewolves, I've heard." Neville clutched the sleeve of Harry's robes, made a choking noise. "That's your problem, isn't it?" said Filch, his voice cracking with glee. "Should have thought of them werewolves before you got in trouble, shouldn't you?" Hagrid came striding toward them out of the dark, Flynn at his heel. He was carrying his large crossbow and a quiver of arrows hung over his shoulder. "About time," he said. "I've been waiting for half an hour already." "All right, Harry, Hermione. I shouldn't be too friendly to them, Hagrid," said Filch coldly. "They're off to be punished after all." "That's why you're late, is it?" said Hagrid, frowning at Filch. "Been lecturing them, eh? It's not your place to do that. You've done your bit. I'll take over from here. I'll be back at dawn. But for what's left of them," he added nastily. And he turned and started back toward the castle. His lamp bobbing away in the darkness. Malfoy turned to Hagrid. "I'm not going into that forest," he said. Harry was pleased to see in the panic in his voice. "Yeah, if you want to stay at Hogwarts," said Hagrid fiercely. "You've done wrong, and now you've got to pay for it." "But this is servant stuff. It's not for students to do. I thought you'd be copying lines or something. If my father knew I was doing this, he'd tell you that's how it is at Hogwarts," Hagrid growled. Copying lines. What's good that's to anyone? You'll do something useful or get out. If you think your father rather you were expelled, then get back off to the castle and pack. Go on." Malfoy didn't move. Right then. Wait, didn't move. He looked at Hagrid fiercely. Then he dropped his gaze. Right then, said Hagrid. Now listen carefully, 'cause it's dangerous what we're doing tonight, and I don't want anyone taking risks. Follow me over here a moment. He had them to the very edge of the forest. Holding his lamp up high, he pointed down a narrow, winding north track that disappeared into the thick black trees. Breeze lifted their hair. They looked into the forest. Look there. See that stuff shining on the ground? Silvery stuff? That's unicorn blood. There's a unicorn in there, been hurt badly by something. This is the second time in a week. I found one dead last Wednesday. We're going to try and find the poor thing. You might have to put it out of its misery. Whatever hurt the unicorn finds us first, and Malfoy, able to keep the fear out of his voice. There's nothing that lives in the forest that would hurt you with me or Fang, and keep you on the path. Right now, we've got to split into two parties and follow the trail in different directions. There's blood all over the place. Must have been striding around since last night at least. I want Fang, said Malfoy quickly, looking at Fang's long teeth. All right, but I warn ya, he's a coward. So me, Harry, and Hermione go one way, and Draco and Neville and Fang go the other. Right. Now, if any of us finds the unicorn, we'll send up green sparks, right? Get your wands out and practice that now. That's it. Now, if anyone gets in trouble, send up red sparks, and we'll all come and find you. So be careful. Let's go. The forest was black and silent. A little way in it, they reached a fork in the earth path, and Harry, Hermione, and Hagrid took the left path, while Malfoy, Neville, and Fang took the right. They walked in silence, their eyes on the ground. Every now and then, a ray of moonlight through the branches above lit a spot of silver blue blood on the fallen leaves. Harry saw that Hagrid looked very worried. Could a werewolf be killing the unicorns? Harry asked. Not fast enough, said Hagrid. It's not easy to catch a unicorn. The powerful magical creatures, you see. I never knew one to be hurt before. They walked past a mossy tree stump. Harry could hear running water. There must be a stream somewhere close by. There was still spots of unicorn blood running by. You all right, Hermione? Harry whispered. Don't worry, it can't have gone far. It's badly hot. Then we'll be able to get behind that tree. Harry seized Harry and hoisted them off the path and behind a towering oak. He pulled out an arrow and fitted it into his crossbow, raising it ready to fire. The three of them listened. Something was slithering over dead leaves. Nearly, nearby. It sounded like a cloak tearing along the ground. Hagrid was squinting up the dark but after a few seconds the sound faded away. I knew it, he murmured. There's something in here that shouldn't be. A werewolf, Harry suggested. That wasn't no werewolf. And it wasn't no unicorn either, said Hagrid grimly. Right, follow me, but careful now. They walked more slowly, ears strained for the faintest sound. Suddenly, in a clearing ahead, something definitely moved. Who's there? Hagrid called. Show yourself. I'm armed. And then into the clearing came, was it a man or a horse? To the waist, a man with red hair and a beard. But below that was a horse's gleaming chestnut body with a long reddish tail. Harry and Hermione jaws dropped. Oh, it's you, Ronan, said Hagrid in relief. How are ya? He walked forward and shook the Centaur's hand. Good evening to you, Hagrid, said Ronan. He had a deep, sorrow voice. Were you going to shoot me? Can't be too careful. Patting his crossbow. There's something bad loose in the forest. This is Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, by the way. Students up at the school, and this is Ron. You two, he's a centaur. We've noticed, said Hermione faintly. Good evening, said Ron. Students, are you? And do you learn much up at the school? A bit, said Hermione timidly. A bit? Oh, that's something, Ronald sighed. He flung back his head and stared at the sky. Mars is bright tonight. Yeah, said Hagrid, glancing up too. Listen, I'm glad we've run into ya. Ron, 'cause there's a unicorn been hurt. You seeing anything? Ronan didn't answer immediately. Then he stared unblinkingly upwards and then sighed again. Always the innocent are the first victims, he said. So it has been for ages past. So it is now. Yeah, said Hagrid. But have you seen anything? Ronan, anything unusual? Mars is bright tonight, said Ron repeated, while Hagrid watched him impatiently. Unusually bright. Yeah, but I mean anything unusual but near to home? So you haven't noticed anything strange? Yet again. Ronald took a while. At last he said, the forest hides many secrets. A movement in the trees behind Ron made Hagrid raise his bow again, but it was only a second centaur, black-haired and bodied and wider looking than Ronan. Hello, Bane, said Hagrid. All right. Good evening, Hagrid. I hope you are well enough. Look, I've just been asking Ron, have you seen anything that odd in here lately? There's a unicorn been injured. Would you know anything about it? Bane walked over to stand next to him. He looked up skyward. Mars is bright tonight, he said simply, "We've heard," said Hagrid grumpily. "Well, if either of you do see anything, let me know, won't ya? We'll be off then." Harry and Hermione followed him out of the clearing, staring over their shoulders at Ronan and Bane until the trees blocked their view. "Never," said Hagrid invariably, "try and get a straight answer out of a centaur. Ruddy stargazers, not interested in anything closer in the moon." "Are there many of them in here?" asked Hermione. "Oh, a few, a fair few. Keep themselves to themselves mostly, but they're good enough about turning up whenever I want a word. They're deep-minded centaurs. They know things, just don't let on much." "Do you think that was a centaur we heard earlier?" said Harry. "Did that sound like hooves to you?" "Nah. If I ask you, that was been thing the unicorns killing the unicorns. Never heard anything like it before." They walked on through the dense dark trees. Harry kept looking nervously over his shoulder. He had the nasty feeling that they were being watched. He was very glad they had Hagrid and his crossbow with them. They had just passed a bend with the path when Hermione grabbed Hagrid's arm. "Hagrid, look! Red sparks! The others are in trouble." "You two wait here," Hagrid shouted. "Stay on the path. I'll come back for ya." They heard him crashing through the undergrowth and stood looking at each other. They very scared until they couldn't hear anything but the rustling of leaves. "You don't think they've been hurt, do you?" said Hermione. "I don't care if Malfoy has, but if something's got Neville, it's our fault he's here in the first place." The minutes dragged by. The ears seemed sharper than usual. Harry seemed to be picking up every sigh of the wind, every crackling twig. What was going on with the others? At last a great crunchy noise announced Hagrid's return. Malfoy, Neville, and Finn were with him. Hagrid was foaming. Malfoy had sneaked up behind Neville, grabbed him. As a joke, Neville had panicked and sent up the sparks. "We'll be lucky to catch anything now, the racket you two were making. Right, we're changing groups. Neville, you stay with me and Hermione. Harry, go with Finn and this idiot." "I'm sorry," he added in a whisper to Harry, "but he'll have a harder time fighting you, and we've got to get this done." So Harry set off into the hall, the forest with Malfoy and Fang. They walked nearly half an hour deeper and deeper into the forest, till the path became almost impossible to follow because the trees were so thick. Harry thought the blood seemed to be getting thicker and thicker. The splashes on the roots of the trees as though the poor creature had been thrashing around in the pain close by. Harry could see clearly ahead through the tangled branches of the ancient oak. Look, he murmured, holding his arm to stop Malfoy. Something bright white was gleaming on the ground. They inched closer. It was the unicorn, all right, and it was dead, said Harry. Had never seen anything so beautiful and sad. Its long, slender legs were stuck out at the odd angles were in the fallen, and its mane was a spread paling white on the dark leaves. Harry had taken one step toward it, and when the slithering sound made him freeze where he stood. A bush on the edge of the clearing quivered. Then out of the shadows a hooded figure came crawling across the ground like something stalking beast. Harry, Malfoy, and Fang stood transfixed. The cloak in the animal's cloak, the head of the cloak, head over the wound in the animal's side, began to drink its blood. Og! Malfoy let out a terrible scream and bolted, so did Fang. The hooded figure raised his head and looked right at Harry. A unicorn bug was dribbling down its front. It got to its feet and came swiftly toward Harry. He couldn't move for fear. Then a pain like he's never felt pierced in his head. It was as though the skull was on fire. Half blind, he staggered backward. He heard hooves behind him. Galloping, something jumped clean over his head, charging out the figure. The pain in his head was so bad he fell to his knees. It took a minute or two to pass. When he looked up, the figure had gone. The centaur was standing over him. Not Ron or Bane. This one looked younger. He had white blonde hair and a caramel body. "Are you all right?" said the centaur, holding Harry to his feet. "Yes, thank you." "What was that?" The centaur didn't answer. He had astonishing blue eyes, like pale sapphires. He looked carefully at Harry, his eyes lingering on the scar that stood out vivid on Harry's forehead. "You're the Potter boy." "The boy," he said. "You had better get back to Hagrid. The forest is not safe at this time, especially for you. Can you ride? It would be quicker this way. My name is Frenzy," he added as he lowered himself on to his front legs. Harry could clamber onto his back. There was suddenly a sound of more galloping from the other side of the clearing. Ron and Bane came bursting through the trees, their flanks heaving in sweat and sweaty. "Frenzy," Bane thundered. "What are you doing? You have a human on your back. Have you no shame? Are you a common mule? Do you realize who this is?" said Frenzy. "This is the Potter boy. The quicker he leaves this forest, the better." "What have you been telling him?" growled Bane. "Remember, Frenzy, we swore not to ourselves against the heavens. Have we not read to come the movements of the planets?" Ron pawed the ground nervously. I'm sure Frenzy thought he was acting for the best, he said in his gloomy voice, then kicked his back legs in anger. For the best? What is that to do with us? Centaurs are concerned with what has been foretold. It is not our business to run around like donkeys after stray humans in our forest. Frenzy suddenly reared to his hind legs in anger, so that Harry had to grab his shoulders to stay on. Do you not see that unicorn? Said Frenzy, bellowed at Bane. Do you not understand why it was killed, or how the planets not let you in that secret? I set myself against what was looking at forced Bane, yes, with humans alongside me if I must. And Frenzy whisked around, Harry clutching on the best he could. They plunged, leaving Ron Bane behind them. Harry didn't have a clue where he was going. Why was Bane so angry? He asked. What was the thing you saved me from anyway? Frenzy slowed to a walk, warned Harry to keep his head bowed in case of low-hanging branches, but did not answer Harry's question. They made their way through trees in silence for a long time. That Harry felt Frenzy did not want to talk to him anymore. They were passing through a particularly dense patch of trees. However, when Frenzy suddenly stopped, Harry Potter, do you know what unicorn blood is used for? No, said Harry, startled by the odd question. You've only used the horn and tail in potions. That is because it is a monstrous thing to slay a unicorn, said Frenzy. Only one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain. Only one who has nothing to would commit such a crime. The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, even if you're an inch from death. But at a terrible price, you have slain something pure and defenseless to save yourself, and you will have but a half-life, a cursed life. From the moment your blood touches your lips, Harry stared back at Frenzy's head, which was dappled silver in the moonlight. But who'd be so desperate, he wondered aloud. You're going to be cursed forever. Death's better, isn't it? It is, Frenzy agreed. Unless you need to stay alive long enough to drink something else. Something that will bring you back to full strength and power. Something that will mean you can never die. Never die. Mr. Potter, do you know what is in the school at this very moment? The Sorcerer's Stone, of course. The elixir of life. But I don't understand who. Can you think of anybody? Think of nobody who has waited many years to return to power, who has clung to life, awaiting their chance? It was as though an iron fist had clenched suddenly around more what Hagrid had told him on the night they had met. Some say he died, Codswallop, in my opinion, to know if he had enough human left in him to die. Do you mean Harry clicked? That was Harry! Harry! Are you alright? Hermione was running toward them down the path, Hagrid puffing along behind her. I'm fine, said Harry, hardly knowing what he was saying. The unicorn's dead, Hagrid. It's in the clearing back there. This is where I leave you, Frenzy murmured as Hagrid hurried off to examine the unicorn. You are safe now. Harry slid off the back, Good luck, Harry Potter. The planets have been read wrongly before, even by centaurs. I hope this is one of those times. He turned and cantered back into the depths of the forest, leaving Harry shivering behind him. Ron had fallen asleep in the dark corner, waiting for them to return. Shouted something about Quidditch flowers, and Harry roughly shook him awake. In nanoseconds, though, he was wide-eyed as Harry began to tell him and Hermione what had happened in the forest. Harry couldn't sit down. He paced up and down in front of the fire. He was still shaking. Snape wants the stone for Voldemort, and Voldemort's waiting in the forest. Now this time, he thought Snape just wanted to get rich. Stop saying the name, said Ron, terrified in whispers, as if he thought Voldemort could heal him. Harry wasn't listening. Frenzy saved me, but he shouldn't have done. Bane was furious. He was talking about interfering with the planet, saying it's going to happen. They must show Voldemort coming back. Bane thinks when they should have let Voldemort kill me. I suppose that's written in the stars as well. You stop saying the name on his. So all I have got to wait for now is Snape to steal the stone. Harry went on furiously. Then Voldemort will be able to come back to finish me off. Well, I suppose Bane will be happy. Hermione looked very frightened, but she had a word of comfort. Harry, everyone says Dumbledore's the only one you know who was ever afraid of. With Dumbledore around, you know he wouldn't touch you. Anyway, who says the centaurs are right? Sounds like fortune telling to me. And Professor McGonagall says that's very imprecise branch of magic. The sky had turned light before they had stopped talking. They went to bed exhausted, their throats sore. But the night surprises weren't over. Harry pulled back his sheets on his invisibility cloak, folded neatly under them. There was a note pinned to it, just in case. If you want to listen to the next chapter, Harry found the Sorcerer's Stone through the trap door. Like and subscribe and wait for the next video.